engage in business in Myanmar previously say that it was much easier then because then you only knew whom you had to bribe. It's a lot more difficult now because you have to know how to do business in the right way. Integrity plus business. Various steps such as establishing one-stop service centers, adopting the concept of a single window system, developing online electronic application systems, and so on, are being taken to reduce bureaucratic red tape and to create an enabling business environment in which private entities can flourish. For Myanmar, newly emerged from decades of economic and political isolation, and amid the recent global economic slowdown, there are many challenges. Yet, despite these, we remain committed to stay the course to achieve inclusive and sustainable development together with all ASEAN countries. As a responsible member of ASEAN, Myanmar will work together with all ASEAN family members to become more connected and integrated economically and socially. In the process of such integration, human capital, our intellectual and creative resources, play a pivotal role in filling the gap between diverse ASEAN member countries at different stages of economic and social development. Myanmar hosted the International Women's Forum in 2013 to acknowledge the important role women play in economic and social development, the vital role played by the creativity and resilience of women in our country's transformation, and the need for women's perspective to bring about sustainable social change. More and more women entrepreneurs have emerged to participate vigorously in the transformation, demonstrating the increasing importance of women in the social but also in the economic sphere. I should mention here that traditionally our women have always been at the forefront of business. When I was a child, I was brought up to understand that men usually went into the civil service for prestige and women did business to keep the family fires alive, to keep the kitchen growing. So we always depended on our women to make sure that our families were economically secure. This is why it's not such a surprise that 49% of our young entrepreneurs are women. While I'm delighted to witness the active participation of women entrepreneurs in the private sector, I'm also inspired by the millions of women who toil each day, holding their heads high in the face of every adversity, saving and sacrificing so that our children can enjoy a better life. All these women should be empowered for themselves as well as for their families and for their contribution to the transformation of Myanmar. For their shared contributions across ASEAN, the lived experiences that cement the integration of our countries into a common family are absolutely invaluable. Our women put a great premium on education. They always have. And this is one of the reasons why we have great hopes for the future of our country, for the future of our young people who will be encouraged to increase their abilities and their skills by their mothers, their sisters, their wives. The majority of enterprises in Myanmar led by women entrepreneurs are small and medium-sized. Being SMEs, challenges are everywhere and range across access to finance, access to markets, access to land, access to information, and access to technology. And as if these challenges were not enough, women have to cope with gender discrimination as well. There are those who say that there is no gender discrimination in our country, but this is not true. It is tradition to look upon the men as a superior gender. There is a Burmese saying, which I find somewhat reprehensible, that you must treat your son like a lord and your husband like a god. I don't think I quite agree with that. And I don't think the women here agree either. So there is gender discrimination. It is true that we are not discriminated in the sense of being debarred from any activities such as doing business or going in for various professions, but still there is the underlying traditional concept that men are superior, and there are still many mothers who favor their sons above their daughters, especially when it comes to educational opportunities. And yet, paradoxically, at the same time, they all realize that it's their daughters that they have to rely on, that they cannot really rely on the sons to look after them in their old age. In spite of that, the mothers go on favoring the boys. Measures need to be taken to empower women to overcome social constraints, strengthen their potential, and unleash their economic power to contribute towards the nation's development. Report after report by scholars and international organizations assert the importance of gender equality. It is sometimes said that the one unambiguous and non-trivial fact in economic development literature is a strong and statistically significant correlation between the empowerment of women and economic growth. A landmark study by the FAO demonstrated that closing the gender gap in agricultural decision-making would lead to a 20 to 30% increase in farm yield. In Myanmar, women account for approximately half of the agricultural workforce. However, too often, they are confined to farm labor and not properly recognized as a major driver of farm decision-making, from crop selection to planting times. And much too frequently, they are excluded from land entitlement. To achieve positive change in women's rights, it is important to increase the number of girls enrolling in primary and secondary school, improve the participation of women in the labor force, ensure better maternal health outcomes, provide more solid social protection measures, and promote the role of women in decision-making. In the education sector, we can say that in my country, women are going ahead of the men. Already in Rangoon University, 60% of the students are girls. So it shows that they're doing better in the education sector. And increasingly, the professors of our most important faculties are becoming women. Actually, I'm not quite sure where the men have gone to, because they haven't come into the civil service and they're not going into academia. They may be going into business, but our women are very strong there too. So I often have to ask this question, where have all the men gone? The participation of women in recent social, political, and economic changes is remarkable in many countries. However, women are still missing out on opportunities in countless areas. The social norm that equates women with unskilled labor and perceives them as mere homemakers, incapable of making decisions, is one of our biggest challenges. In recognition of the importance of women's role in the achievement of economic and social development, Myanmar has developed a 10-year national strategic plan for the advancement of women. This plan is based on the 12 priority areas of the Beijing Platform for Action and the principles of the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination against Women, to which Myanmar became a signatory in 1997. Our plan is ambitious but achievable, and Myanmar is committed to creating an enabling environment for women that will allow them to realize their full potential. It is said that women hold up half the sky, but I would rather say that they nurture half, and probably more than half, of the earth, because it is the earth that we have to deal with on an everyday basis. And we need our women to be stronger here, where we live, where we struggle, and where we will create the future for our young. The contribution of women towards economic and social development can be significant not only in my country, but throughout our region and throughout the world. By recognizing this potential, Let us create an environment where women can unleash their economic power for our countries individually, for our integrated community that we call ASEAN, and for a better world. Today, there is a growing recognition that the well-being of a nation is not only a function of its wealth in natural resources, but also of the knowledge and skills of its people. The experience of newly industrialized countries, such as South Korea and Singapore, serve to underscore that increased knowledge and skills can bring about better economic outcomes for both individuals and nations. The quality of human resources of a country certainly has a bearing on its economic development. Human capital development is therefore a key to the social and economic development of countries. Developing countries must strive to develop human capital. This can be done through education and training to produce a qualified workforce that can compete in the changing economic global environment. In today's world, human capital development is essential for attaining sustainable economic growth and development. Education has an important role to play in the development of human capital for all of us. Investment in education can help to promote faster economic growth. I was asked to speak on two themes, empowering women and human capital development. But actually, empowering women is a form of human capital development. Our, if you like, women capital development. Because women are an important part of our human capital. But as we
Myanmar State Councillor Aung San Suu Kyi speaking there before the ASEAN Business and Investment Summit. She spoke about her country's efforts in fighting corruption and doing business the right way. She talked about inclusive and sustainable growth for all ASEAN member states and the active participation of women entrepreneurs in the private sector and their contribution to what she says is the transformation of Myanmar. But she also mentioned that gender discrimination still exists in her country. The democracy icon and Nobel laureate in her keynote speech there championing women's rights and speaking about ending gender violence and inequality. The ASEAN Business and Investment Summit is one of the activities today related to the ASEAN Summit and related meetings. This evening there will be a special gala celebration of the 50th anniversary of the ASEAN, and that will be at 8 this evening. Again, that was Myanmar State Councillor Aung San Suu Kyi speaking before the ASEAN Business and Investment Summit. She arrived yesterday, fresh from the APEC Summit in the Da Nang, Vietnam. Suu Kyi met with U.S. President Donald Trump and Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau on the sidelines of the APEC Summit. Suu Kyi, though, is facing harsh international criticism for her perceived inaction on the Rohingya refugee crisis, the humanitarian crisis that has displaced more than 600,000 Rohingya Muslims. And the UN calls the violence against the Rohingyas as ethnic cleansing. Let's go back to the keynote speech of Aung San Suu Kyi.
For all human beings, not just for particular countries who are part of the economic functioning of the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. May we invite you to...
That was Myanmar State Councillor Aung San Suu Kyi speaking before the ASEAN Business and Investment Summit. The democracy icon and Nobel laureate is here for the ASEAN Summit and related meetings. She arrived here yesterday at the Clark International Airport in Pampanga, and last night she attended a welcome dinner hosted by former President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, also in Clark, Pampanga.
Kaya ba natin to? Kaya. That was his punchline. And indeed, we succeeded very well during his time. Foreign Minister of the ASEAN member states and the dialogue partners, Secretary Jose Roberto Martin Andanar, and the other members of the Cabinet, distinguished members of the Diplomatic Corps, Asian Business Advisory Council Chair Jose Maria Concepcion III, pioneer mentors, saludo po ako of the ASEAN Mentorship for Entrepreneurs Network, honored guests, my countrymen. You know, this is my speech. I will read to do justice to the guy who labored the few sentences that he worked on maybe late last night. And after that, I will share with you my own thoughts. I am pleased to join you today as we open the ASEAN Business and Investment Summit and launch the ASEAN Mentors for Entrepreneurship Network. As an opportune time for government and business sectors, leaders across the region to come together, it is my hope that the ASEAN Mentors for Entrepreneurship Network would become a catalyst for inclusive prosperity that can be shared by all. Now, I would not bore you with so many words. It's the run of the mill speech of greeting everybody and practically saying nothing. During the plenary sessions of in Vietnam the other day, when my turn came to talk about my situations, and I said, this is a regional concern, and everything you guys said today are all here in my speech also. So I won't bother, but I was listening and I was very well educated this afternoon. That is all, because there's only one aim actually. What we do today for our world and our generation. I am one of those on the room for the estimated time of departure. And maybe our term in this world has long expired, but we are still here. You are the ones who have the warmth and enthusiasm to do what you can do for your country and for the world. You have all the data, and you know what ails the world today. What is the trouble with the economy? Suddenly, the digital age came to a fore and almost by surprise. Other nations went well, they were prepared. But most of the third world countries were not in a position to catch up as much. And so today, we realize that almost 85% of the world are run by SM. Hindi SM, iba yun. That's the shopping mall, the micro, small, and medium, actually. And taking together, it fuels the world economy. Except for the few things that really we spent the income of the world and the GDPs to build arms for destruction, everything or everybody else in the world was busy making a living. When globalization came, and suddenly it placed everybody in a very awkward position. Actually, the first country to be hit by the consequences of the growing globalization, the world village, was America. And its economy was the first to suffer when they went to China. Then Xiaoping opened the doors for cheap labor and everything else, including the minimal taxations. And today, China is the number one economic powerhouse. And we have to be friends. The other hotheads would like us to confront China and the rest of the world for so many issues. The South China Sea is better left untouched. Nobody can afford to go to war. Either the big powers, Russia, China, Britain, or the United States. It can ill afford a violent confrontation. It does not have the luxury of the option of war and violence. And my last bilateral, last night, and I had to wait for 2 hours because President Xi Jinping was busy with the other countries talking. We had the last appointment for him before I took off. And we agreed, and he agrees. And he said, if you are President Duterte, and you want to preserve the lives of the Filipinos, then as President of China, I want to save lives. I do not waste the lives of my countrymen for a useless war that cannot be won by anybody. He made it clear to us that the only way to go is cooperation. And so I would say that we should open our doors to everybody. Ideological conflicts are no longer in the vogue. It's a passé. We do not go about running this world in accordance to our, whether it is a pretended principle in life or just want to go the aggressor. And so today, I'd like to announce to the region, especially to the Filipinos, that we have had, it's going to be by the years, but we collected taxes. Billions of taxes were unpaid for many years. So I asked everybody is cold or warm? Yung aircon, baka nagtitipid kayo dito. Saving for the electric bills. So it's a good year. Next year, I would like to make some late changes in the GAA, the annual budget. I would like to pour more money on this medium, small, and micro industry. So, you guys, the small businessmen, maybe a few billions here and there would suffice. Well, talagang bubuhos ako ng capital because we found out in our meetings with AP that the basic unit of the economy has always been moved by the MSMEs. So, as one who is really poor at economics, I've told you I'm a graduate. I'm not an economist, and I remember failing the subject twice to take it in a summer course. But I have enough understanding of what is really practical for us all. But the bulk of the money would go to the livelihood, less spending on, we will replenish but not that much. We are not interested in wars. I'd like to appeal to the revolutionaries to just simmer down and we'll talk. We will rebuild Marawi. I said, we collected so much taxes. I was informed by my revenue officials that there's enough to start to lay the foundation of the city again. But for those who are not really, I will, so as not to repeat the kind of thing that we fought for about 4 months and at the expense of the lives of many people, Christians and Muslims alike. We get nothing. Nobody won that war, not government. We're able to kill how many? Terrorists and even. It does not promote peace in this world. We were just acting on a police punitive action. So, but most of the money will go to the poor and the medium, small and siguro mag 50 billion each, okay na? How many 50 billion? Hindi, talaga totoo. I will review the budget with Secretary Jokno and maybe if I can add more, I'll ask Congress. May pera ho ako dyan on the Marawi. I prepared for this event because we realized in the regional meetings that the small guy down there contributes a lot to what is really happening before our eyes, and it's improving the economy. Philippines is doing well. It has been consistently improving since the time of President Ramos, and we have maintained this 6.1. So hopefully by 2030, I can assure every Filipino, I never promised a paradise for us. I know how hard it is really to fix the economy. But what I promised you, and even during the campaigns, is I will just make the life of the Filipino comfortable. That is all that I am going to do. Thank you.
Thank you very much, President Rodrigo Roa Duterte.
President Rodrigo Duterte speaking before the ASEAN Business and Investment Summit and during the ceremonial launching of the ASEAN Mentorship for Entrepreneurship Network, or AMEN. He says, it is my hope that the ASEAN Mentorship will be a catalyst for inclusive prosperity. He says he'd like to pour more money into small and medium enterprises. The ASEAN Business Advisory Council Chairman Joey Concepcion earlier said the ASEAN Business Summit will press for the tearing down of non-tariff barriers, which include quotas and levies, as a way to push the region's further integration. He also says the ASEAN Business Summit will also seek greater connectivity to improve logistics and movement of people in Southeast Asia. The president said the South China Sea issue is better left untouched. He said we cannot afford to go to war. He says the only way to go is through cooperation in settling the sea row. He talked about his bilateral ties or bilateral meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping just last night on the sidelines of the APEC summit in Vietnam, where he said President Xi assured him of safe passage for all. Ahead of the ASEAN summit, an anti-Trump rally turns violent. Protesters are accusing the police of brutality. The ASEAN lanes on EDSA are taking a toll on thousands of commuters and motorists We give you traffic updates since the ASEAN lanes opened yesterday. And actress and former beauty queen Maria Isabel Lopez earns the ire of netizens after illegally driving on the ASEAN lanes. She now faces sanctions.
This program is presented by Bank of Commerce, an affiliate of San Miguel Corporation.
Good evening, I'm Mai Rodriguez. Thanks for joining us. Most of the world leaders attending the 2017 ASEAN Summit and related meetings have arrived. Many landed in Clark, but there are also those who opted to arrive in Manila. Our Angel Alimario has more.
More leaders from ASEAN and dialogue partners arrived here in the Philippines today. Now, the sweltering heat of the sun greeted the world leaders at the Clark International Airport, and more than 1,000 students from Bulacan and Pampanga give them a warm reception. It's a welcome that didn't go unnoticed. New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern and Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau approached the performers and personally greeted them. It's a move appreciated by these students. Now, other heads of government who arrived here at the Clark International Airport are from Laos, Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, Vietnam, and Australia. But there are also those who landed in Manila, and coverage of their arrivals at NAIA was prohibited, though these leaders are from United Nations, Japan, China, South Korea, and Russia, among others. Now, airport authorities are pleased with that their months of preparation paid off.
Totoo kami sa ngalan ng National Organizing Committee, kami sa Clark International Airport Corporation na atasan bilang bahagi ng committee nito na masiguro na maging masinop, mapayapa at sistematiko ang pagdating at pagbalik sa Manila ng mga ASEAN leaders at saka yung mga ASEAN invited leaders.
The spotlight now shifts to Manila for the upcoming ASEAN Summit and related summits. In Clark, Pampanga, Anjo Alimario, CNN Philippines.
Association of Southeast Asian Nations Secretary General Lee Long-min admits the South China Sea dispute and tensions on the Korean Peninsula remain as top concerns in the region. He says in over 50 years of its existence, one of the ASEAN's major achievements is ensuring political stability in the region.
Peace and stability in the region, peace stability for the member countries, peace stability for the South Asian region, and even peace and stability for the wider Asia-Pacific region. And second achievement is the success, in the economic integration. And the third achievement, major achievement, is the building of the ASEAN institutions.
Min says for the 31st ASEAN Summit tomorrow, leaders are expected to sign a consensus on the protection and promotion of rights of migrant workers. The Philippine Foreign Affairs Department considers this a centerpiece of the country's hosting of the ASEAN Summit. The ASEAN lanes officially took effect yesterday. 4 lanes on EDSA from Balintawak to Magallanes are closed to motorists to accommodate delegates attending the ASEAN. Let's see how this is affecting traffic. Our Zian Arcangel reports from the MMDA Traffic Metro Base. Zian, how's the traffic so far?
It's Sunday, but traveling along EDSA is taking longer than usual because of the ASEAN lanes. On the southbound lane, traffic is moderate to slow-moving along Cubao. It will ease after P. Tuazon Avenue, but there's build-up once motorists reach Santolan all the way to Shaw Boulevard. Vehicles are also moving slowly from Guadalupe all the way to Ayala. Motorists traveling on EDSA's northbound lane can expect a smoother travel as there are no traffic jams. But there's a slight slowdown in front of SM North EDSA going to Muñoz. There's no word if the ASEAN lanes will be open to the public again. That's because the VIPs and the delegates who came from Clark, Pampanga are expected to make their way to Manila tonight. The MMDA says only emergency vehicles, responders, and marked vehicles will be allowed to use the ASEAN lanes if there are no convoys of VIPs and delegates that will pass. So for motorists who want to avoid getting stuck on EDSA, it's best to use the 17 Mabuhay lanes as alternate routes. Mai?
Zian Arcangel there reporting from the MMDA Traffic Metro Base. It was a distressing Saturday night for commuters. Thousands were stranded for hours on different parts of EDSA. Commuters struggled to get a ride home. Passengers and motorists complained the usual hour-long commute doubled and even tripled. The MMDA says the ASEAN lanes added to the traffic problem on EDSA.
I don't think we lack in informing the public for the past weeks. We did our best in informing the public regarding this chaotic traffic in EDSA once the ASEAN starts. Actually, Ma'am, what happened yesterday, there are so many points that we want to raise. First, Ma'am, we've always mentioning this, that the capacity of EDSA is 6,000 per lane per direction. But with the road closure that happened yesterday, 2 to 3 more lanes, just imagine the 50,000 vehicles are now using the available lanes. So, plus we didn't list the number coding. There's no number coding yesterday. It's Saturday. And we have recorded 23 accidents yesterday as well. Most of them happened in service road, plus the volume. So, the traffic, really, the motorists are complaining of being trapped in traffic congestion along EDSA yesterday.
I understand.
We're hoping now, ma'am, till Wednesday, till the ASEAN summit ends, the traffic will never be the same as what happened yesterday.
The MMDA reminds motorists to use the 17 Mabuhay lanes to avoid traffic on EDSA. For the complete list of these lanes, visit our website, cnnphilippines.com. When the newsroom returns, several activists and policemen were injured in today's protests. We'll tell you why. And a former beauty queen is in hot water for breaking an ASEAN security protocol. Back after a quick break, keep it here on CNN Philippines. This is the newsroom on CNN Philippines. Welcome back. This just in, President Donald Trump has arrived in the country. This is his first ever visit here, his final stop for his tour in Asia. He was previously in Japan, China, and Vietnam. This 12-day Asian tour brings him closer than ever to 2 crucial global issues facing his presidency. These are tensions with North Korea and trade with China. President Trump is expected to hold bilateral talks with President Duterte on the sidelines of the ASEAN summit. Now, protests turned violent ahead of the 31st ASEAN summit. Militant groups rejecting the arrival of U.S. President Donald Trump got hurt in a scuffle with policemen in San Juan. Our Makoy Popioco joins us live for the details. Makoy, tell us what exactly happened.
Today's protests turned violent. Militant groups call out the police brutality in today's anti-Trump protests in Manila. At least 9 protesters were injured. 3 of them sustained deep head wounds and were rushed to the Philippine General Hospital. The group's physician, Dr. Joseph Carabeo, says the wounds were sustained from the hits of the policemen's cudgels and shields. The police tried stopping the protesters from getting near the U.S. Embassy.
Kung sinasabi niyong maximum tolerance, siguraduhin yung talagang maximum tolerance. At isa pa, ang pulis sana maglingkod kayo sa mga mamamayan. Sino ba ang binabantayan nyo? Si Trump at ang mga ASEAN? At kami biglang nasa sektor pangkalusugan ay marina kinokondena itong brutality at violence na ating nasaksihan ngayong hapon.
The militant groups composed of farmers, peasants, indigenous peoples, and Moro groups from Mindanao condemn the arrival of U.S. President Donald Trump in the country for the ASEAN summit. They say the Duterte administration is a puppet of what they call imperialistic America, and they say the country does not benefit from the trade and security agreements with the United States. The group likewise accused Trump of including the Philippines in the United States war rhetoric against North Korea. Prior to Trump's visit in the country, it came from his visit in Japan and South Korea. Mai.
McCoy, your video shows the police using water cannons on the protesters. Was that necessary, and what did the police say about this?
Well, Manila Police District Station 5 Commander Superintendent Emery Abating says that was necessary to ease the clash between the protesters and the police. And he says that the tossing and the shoving have become violent, and the spraying water on the protesters is the most effective means of dispersing them. Now, Abating says that 23 policemen were injured in today's protest.
Once na ma-establish na ng ating mga CDM personnel yung kanilang pwesto, then they would just defend that line. And the rallies would want to break that, so doon nagkakaroon ng clash. So kung nagkaroon man ng tulakan, sakitan, it was provoked by the rallies, not of our policemen.
Authorities are investigating if the police on duty exerted unnecessary force, and Abating says that there will be sanctions to those police proven to have abused their authority. Mai.
McCoy Popioco there reporting from San Juan in Manila. Still ahead, actress Maria Isabel Lopez apologizes for breaking ASEAN security protocol. This is Newsroom Weekend on CNN Philippines. Stay tuned. The newsroom's back with more stories. A viral video of actress and former beauty queen Maria Isabel Lopez is making the rounds online. On her Facebook page, Lopez says she escaped last night's heavy traffic by driving with hazards turned on. She adds she removed the divider cones of the ASEAN lanes and that all the other motorists behind her followed. She says the MMDA thought she was an ASEAN delegate. She ends her post by saying, quote, "If you can't beat them, join them." Watch.
Woo! I did it! Ha ha ha! Be like Maria! Woo! ASEAN lane, here I come! Be like Maria!
Hilpuyat Avenue West.
Of course, this did not sit well with netizens. One netizen says, quote, "At proud ka pa." Another netizen says, "Kaya hindi umaasenso ang Pinas, simpleng instruction hindi kaya sundin. Proud pa na pasaway." Another one writes, "Instead na maging magandang halimbawa, nanguna pa sa pagpapasaway." Now, reacting to the post, Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board spokesperson Eileen Lizada says the former beauty queen is not a role model. In a statement, Lizada says they will inform the Land Transportation Office for suspension or cancellation of her driver's license. ASEAN Traffic Management Head Emmanuel Miro says Lopez's misbehavior will be investigated and, if warranted, appropriate charges will be filed against her. The ASEAN lanes were created to secure world leaders and delegates attending the ASEAN summit and ensure the swift passage of their vehicles. CNN Philippines is trying to reach Maria Isabel Lopez to comment on the matter. Meanwhile, the actress has apologized on her Facebook page. She says, quote, "Sorry to those who got hurt and affected." And that's what's happening in the newsroom this Sunday, November 12th. I'm Mai Rodriguez. Stay with CNN Philippines, where we tell the story of the Filipino. Good night.
Senate President Aquilino Pimentel III and the other members of the Senate present, ASEAN Secretary General Liu Leong Mi, distinguished members of the Diplomatic Corps, Secretary Alan Peter Cayetano and the other members of the Cabinet present, distinguished guests, members of the House of Representatives, other distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to Manila for the 31st ASEAN Summit and related summits. I am deeply honored to host this rare occasion when a number of the world leaders gathered here in celebration of the 50th anniversary of ASEAN. Last week, the world witnessed and joined us in paying tribute to the golden anniversary of the founding of the association. Tonight, likewise, President, we commemorate the community gains that ASEAN has achieved over the years under your leadership. The two former presidents here, particularly their work and efforts towards the realization of the rules-based, people-oriented community. Throughout our chairmanship of ASEAN in 2017, the Philippines has been guided by the theme, Partnering for Change, Engaging the World, which captures the ASEAN resolve to effect positive change in the lives of our people and assert our position in the global economy. Beyond our regional borders, we ASEAN citizens are steadfast in building an ASEAN community that is united by shared history, values, and aspirations. We continue to harmonize the three pillars of ASEAN community by strengthening economic integration and building a common identity while embracing our uniqueness and diversity. ASEAN countries continue to engage the world. From its founding, we have established the meaningful and constructive engagements with external partners anchored on ASEAN centrality. As one of the founding members of ASEAN, the Philippines has witnessed and contributed to the development of ASEAN in the dynamic organization that is now. I look forward to having constructive and substantive discussions with you, Your Majesty, and Your Excellencies in the upcoming meetings. Let us start on a positive note with tonight's celebration of ASEAN for 50 years. On this note, I wish to offer a toast to you, the unity, centrality, solidarity, and continued success of ASEAN, to ASEAN's achievement over the last 50 years and the success of the 31st ASEAN Summit related. Mabuhay, and kindly get hold of your... Mabuhay.
President Rodrigo Duterte welcoming leaders of ASEAN, its dialogue partners, and their spouses tonight during a special gala for ASEAN's 50th anniversary. The president saying he's honored to host the occasion. Again, this is the 31st ASEAN Summit and related meetings. The theme, Partnering for Change. The president says that he's looking forward to strengthening strengthening economic integration and identity, the Philippines being a founding member of the ASEAN. He was also stressing that the meeting should start with a positive note, and towards the end, the President asking for unity, solidarity, and success of the ASEAN, and a toast for the past 50 years. Present in today's occasion are the 10 member states together with their dialogue partners. Let me go through them one by one. Australia's Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull, New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern, Russia's Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev, Vietnam's Prime Minister Nguyen Xuan Phuc, Myanmar State Councillor Aung San Suu Kyi, Laos PDR Prime Minister Thongloun Sisulit, European Union President of European Council Donald Tusk, Cambodia's Prime Minister Hun Sen, Malaysia's Prime Minister Najib Razak, Singapore Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Indonesian President Joko Widodo, Thailand's Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha, and you just saw earlier Brunei Sultan Hassan al-Bolkiah. Also in attendance, well, that's Indonesian President Joko Widodo. Also in attendance, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres and Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, and China's Premier Li Keqiang. Also, Korea's President Moon Jae-in, and of course, the President of the United States, Donald Trump. Our Ruth Cabal is at the SMX Convention Center where it's all happening right now. Ruth?
Yes, Pinky, we saw a while ago the special gala celebration for the 50th anniversary of the ASEAN, and President Duterte there said that he was looking forward to constructive and substantive discussions for tomorrow, because tomorrow is the start of the formal ASEAN summit. But he says, like what you mentioned earlier, that he wanted to start the ASEAN summit and related meetings on a positive note, and that's when he gave a toast. And but before that, we saw how he did want to start things on a positive note, how he warmly welcomed each and every one of the leaders of the ASEAN, 10 ASEAN member states, as well as the dialogue partners and their spouses. One by one, he greeted them and then posted a photo with them. That was before he made the toast. They also had a group photo where we saw U.S. President Donald Trump standing beside President Duterte. And we should also note that before the start of the dinner and the toast, Trump was also seated beside President Duterte. As we noticed also that all of the ASEAN leaders and the dialogue partners were wearing the traditional Filipino barong Tagalog that was, of course, designed by Albert Andrada, and the spouses were also wearing terno, barot saya, and Muslim-inspired clothes by Rahul Laurel and Randy Ortiz as designers. And Malacanang said that during the program called Bravo ASEAN, the ASEAN leaders will be, and the dialogue partners will be treated to a showcase of Filipino artistry, talent, and hospitality through music, as well as through food by Chef Jessie Sinshoko, who was also the one who prepared the meals for Pope Francis when he visited the Philippines in 2016. She will be serving a 4-course Filipino-Asian fusion, plus there will be a lot of numbers from different groups showcasing original Filipino music, as well as different dance numbers. And we were told that there will be ballet, folk dance, ballroom dancing, and contemporary dancing. All this aimed to show the diversity and at the same time to celebrate the unity of 10 member states of the ASEAN. Also, we noticed that some of the spouses were wearing different versions of the Barong Tagalog, and we were told earlier by Malacanang that even the spouses' clothes actually had themes for Mindanao, for Luzon, Visayas, representing modern terno, as well as the Barot Saya. Also, even the barongs had themes depending on the personality of the different leaders. Earlier, designer Albert Andrada said that President Duterte's barong was actually named after a theme for Maharlika, and U.S. President Trump for Matipuno, and the Chinese Premier Li Keqiang for to represent someone who's masigasig. Aside from that, we also saw that there were earlier set up big lanterns from Pampanga that were set up around the area of the SMX Convention Center where the gala dinner was happening. Some of the leaders to which President Duterte issued somewhat controversial statements earlier were also there. We could take note of the leader of the European Union, the President of the European Council, Donald Tusk, was there. If you recall, in the previous statements of President Duterte, he had even threatened to expel the ambassadors of EU as well as the representative from the United Nations. We saw the Secretary General Guterres. So we're still looking forward to an evening of music, art, and dancing there at the SMX Convention Center. Tomorrow in the morning will be the start of the formal 31st ASEAN Summit and related meetings. Pinky?
Ruth, so much in store for the leaders of ASEAN and the dialogue partners. We thank you for that report, Ruth Cabal. Thanks a lot reporting to us from the SMX Convention Center. And that wraps up our coverage of the special gala happening at the SMX Convention Center for the ASEAN 50th anniversary. I'm Pinky Webb. Thank you for watching.